Hey everybody, it's PJ from .FL and Karma Airguns, and you're watching this video today most likely because you're either trying to do some maintenance on your Red Panda that involves some part swaps or upgrades or something along those lines, or you're moving from a 2024 spec Red Panda to a 2025 spec Red Panda. So this is what I'd throw out to you. Before you do any wrenching on your airgun, please watch all of the videos. There is kind of a sequence to them, and what we want to make sure that you're absolutely understanding is how important it is to degas your airgun before you do any of the part removal that we're talking about in this series of airguns. If your airgun is under pressure, you run the risk of damaging the airgun and possibly injuring yourself or someone else. So if you have questions about how to degas the airgun, I've already done it on the gun that we're going to be working with. Go back to the first video. That's the one where we talk about the degassing procedure. So make sure you've checked that out. Now on to the show. In this video, we are going to reassemble the back end to the action of the airgun. And that starts by making sure that these two small nipples at the back of the action are in good shape and have a little bit of silicone grease on them. And again, it is a very little bit of silicone grease. I would always take the time to inspect those O-rings, make sure that they're in good shape all the way around, because if they're not, this is a guaranteed spot for a leak. Once we have those ready, you just put it together like that, and then take, again, these are M4x16 screws. What I'm doing is hand tightening one on the top and then hand tightening the other one on the top. Once I have those in, I'll worry about the ones on the bottom, because the ones on the bottom, well, if you watch the video on taking it apart, those are the ones that get a little bit tricky. So those are in most of the way. I can roll this on to its back, kind of look at the underside. Again, I'm going to take our screw here, slide it in there, and grab my Magic Eklind 3mm. And roll this guy in. So as you can see, this is a fairly, well, let's just be real, laborious process. Sometimes you can just get the angle just right and use the long end to turn the screws and kind of work it back and forth. And in reality, these Eklind, or this particular Eklind Allen, which in my opinion is probably not the best Allen wrench in the world, but it may be the best Allen wrench for this particular task. At some point, you're going to get to the place where these screws bottom out. And when I get there, what I will do is go back and forth and tighten the bottom. And then I will roll it over and tighten the top. And then I'll go back and hit these bottom two one more time. What we want is everything seated snugly, because not because there should be a ton of weight or pressure on this joint, but if these aren't snug and there's a lot of movement, as you would get in the firing cycle, a lot of vibration, if the threads aren't snug, if the screw isn't snug into the threads, that's where you start to get wear on the threads, which are part of the action. And if that strips out, unless you can re-tap and use a bigger screw, that action is shot. So we want these to be snug. If you want to put a little blue Loctite in there, you can. What you have to make sure is you don't get any benefit from Loctiting inside here. You need the Loctite to be down inside the thread. So if you do it, don't use a lot and make sure you apply it carefully. So we have replaced the rear end on the gun, and in the next video we will turn our attention to putting a new front end on.